welcome everyone to Notorious Crime Stories channel, where we dive deep into mysterious criminal cases, uncovering gripping details that will keep you on the edge of your seat until the very last moment. If you love solving crimes and thrilling detective stories, be sure to like this video and subscribe to Notorious Crime Stories.
On April 22, 2024, a horrifying event that no one could have foreseen occurred in the state of Oklahoma, in the southern United States. Imagine the sheer terror that a 10-year-old boy must have felt when he woke up that morning, stepped out of his bedroom, and discovered that no one in his family had survived. His parents and 3 brothers were all lying motionless. Only he remained alive in this world. The tragedy was not only that the entire Jonathan Candy family had perished, leaving behind their youngest son, but even more painful was the fact that they had all been murdered. And the murderer was not some strangers breaking into their home in the middle of the night, but perhaps something even more horrific, lurking within the family life itself. In 2022, during an interview for the Oklahoma program at a favorite bakery in Yukon, the Candy couple was described as a youthful, dynamic, and happy family. Jonathan Candy was a 42-year-old man from Yukon, Oklahoma. He worked part-time at Paycom Center, one of Yukon's major venues, which hosted many events such as concerts and sports tournaments. At the time, it was basketball season, and Jonathan Candy spent time working for NBA games. Although he only worked part-time, his jokes and laughter always brought life to the arena. Jonathan attended Bishop McGuinness Catholic High School, and after graduating, he married his sweetheart, Lindsay Terry. Lindsay grew up in Oklahoma. She was a choir member from a young age, with beautiful looks and a cheerful, friendly personality. While Jonathan Candy was a funny, humorous guy who loved to tell jokes, Lindsay enjoyed being lively, which drew her to his charm and humor. After getting married, their married life seemed to go smoothly. Even after many years together and having 4 sons, Jonathan and Lindsay still looked very happy. There were no reports of domestic violence or any form of abuse. Their children also appeared cheerful and lived like any other normal kids. The couple's Facebook page was filled with family photos, and anyone scrolling through would believe they were a harmonious, warm family. Jonathan always told his relatives and friends that family and children were his whole world. He and his children seemed very close-knit, and he was the epitome of a family man. However, the darkest part of this story is that the one who harmed his wife and 3 children, then took his own life, was Jonathan Candy. No one else. This man, who was a husband, a father, and a pillar of the family, was supposed to be the one who loved, cared for, and protected them. But instead, he was the one who took their lives. The identity of the Candy family's youngest son has been kept confidential for privacy reasons. But we know that on that morning, the boy woke up as usual. He had slept all night with the fan directed toward him, so he didn't hear any sounds from outside. The only thing he remembered was hearing the fire alarm go off during the night, but he fell back asleep immediately afterward. Around 9 a.m., the boy stepped out of his room and was horrified to discover his entire family lying in a pool of blood. By 9:30 that day, the 10-year-old boy called 911 and reported that everyone in his family had died. Immediately, the police arrived at the Candy family's home, and what they found was nothing short of a massacre. Through initial investigations, they confirmed that Lindsay Terry, 39, had been shot along with her 3 sons, Jan Candy, 18, Ethan Candy, 14, and Lucas Candy, 12. The suspect, Jonathan Candy, 42, was also found dead from a self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head. The police concluded that this was a family murder-suicide. But the haunting question in everyone's mind was, why did this happen? The residents living in the neighborhood, upon seeing ambulances and police rushing to the house, were confused and did not understand what was going on. During the investigation, police discovered that Jonathan Candy had pursued and personally murdered his wife and 3 children, except for the youngest son. There were no signs of struggle at the scene, making the incident even more perplexing. In most similar cases, it is rare for a perpetrator to spare one person before taking their own life. If Jonathan intended to harm the entire family, usually no one would be spared. So, why did Jonathan decide to spare his youngest son? Did the boy accidentally wake up at the last moment? Or did Jonathan have a special relationship with this son? These questions may never be answered, as there is no one left to explain. The relatives of the Candy family understood that this situation was too much for the boy to bear and decided to protect him from deep investigations. Until more information is available, the case remains a mystery. Dr. Joni Johnston, a clinical and forensic psychologist involved in the investigation, admitted that the entire story shocked her. She had never encountered a case where a parent harmed their children but left one child alive. Friends and neighbors who saw Jonathan before the tragedy all reported that everything seemed very normal. Colleagues also mentioned that Jonathan had attended a party for Thunder OKC just hours before the incident occurred. There were no signs indicating that this family had issues, nor were there any clear warnings that those around them could have recognized. Even factors like domestic violence, commonly seen in similar cases, were completely absent. So far, no one has been able to provide a reason or accurately speculate on Jonathan's motives. It is known that there may have been an argument between him and Lindsay on the night of the incident, but no one knows what the argument was about or why Jonathan thought that ending everything himself was the right decision. Jonathan was always known as a loving and supportive father. So what made him pull the trigger on those he once claimed to love most in the world? Another possibility is that he acted in a fit of rage. Perhaps they argued, and in a moment of loss of control, he accidentally harmed his wife, leading to an unintentional tragedy. Jonathan had no history of depression or similar psychological issues, but investigations are looking into whether the family faced financial crises. Financial stress can sometimes lead to depression, especially for a man bearing the weight of family responsibilities. Distorted thoughts during a crisis can make one feel hopeless and trapped. Another factor being considered is whether Jonathan was struggling with a mental health issue that he had kept hidden. There is still a lot of stigma surrounding seeking help for psychological issues, and those who do not seek support can often make horrific mistakes that impact both themselves and their loved ones. Signs of depression in men often differ from those in women. Instead of expressing sadness, men may isolate themselves and become irritable and angry. This can prevent family and friends from recognizing that those signs might signal depression and the risk of negative actions. When entering a state of severe depression, one can lose all hope and believe that the best way is to give up everything, even dragging along those they love. The true motive behind this tragedy remains a mystery. On Lindsay's Facebook page, Kimmy Cruz, a childhood friend, shared some memories of their friendship after hearing the bad news. Kimmy recounted that she and Lindsay used to sing together in the church choir and attended school together until they graduated in 2002. One special memory Kimmy shared helped others understand Lindsay's bright nature. When they were young, the two girls once hid in a treehouse and fell asleep, causing their parents to worry so much that they had to call the police. In the end, everyone could only laugh when they found the two girls safe and sound, still asleep in the small house. Kimmy also mentioned her strong friendship with Lindsay, saying that every time they met, it felt like returning to childhood. She expressed her pain upon learning about the Candy family's passing. Kimmy could not imagine or accept the horrific events that had transpired. On her Facebook page, she shared that Lindsay was loved by many, and Kimmy particularly emphasized that Lindsay was always adored by her sons. She brought laughter to every conversation and spread joy to her parents, sister, and their girl group. Dylan Candy, 18, the eldest son of Jonathan and Lindsay, was a sociable young man passionate about music, especially drums. In May 2023, Dylan graduated from Mustang High School. He enjoyed playing in the marching band and planned to attend Oklahoma Baptist University that fall to join the school's marching band. Dylan played bass drums, and the band's manager stated that the only reason he hadn't yet led any section was that he was only a freshman. However, Dylan's talent on the drums earned him an important position right from the start. Band members described Dylan as a wonderful young man with a kind heart who was always cheerful and friendly with everyone, even on the hardest days. In memory of Dylan and his family, the band would set up his bass drum and uniform in a special memorial, encouraging members to support each other during this painful time. Ian Candy, 14, was the second son in the family. Ian was an 8th grade student at Mustang North Middle School and was known as an energetic, healthy boy with a particular talent for baseball. Ian's coach stated that he was a passionate player with a natural gift for the sport. He always played with joy and enthusiasm. The coach also shared that Ian had an inspiring spirit and a bright smile that could light up any space. Ian's baseball coach, TJ Armstrong, held him in high regard. He considered Ian to be his son's best friend and believed that Ian brought out the best in his son. Ian's passing left a significant void in the hearts of his loved ones, especially for Cooper Armstrong and Wiley, Ian's closest friends. A memorial bench is being set up at the youth sports complex to honor Ian's presence and positive influence on the team and his friends' lives. Lucas Candy, the youngest victim, was only 12 years old and attended Mustang Middle School. He often played with other kids during Ian's football practices. Lucas was a lively, smart, and energetic boy. He will be remembered as a joyful child who loved outdoor activities and always made new friends with innocence and friendliness. One of the most heartbreaking aspects of this tragedy is the reality that the youngest son, the only survivor of the Candy family, will have to grow up with the burden of the tragic fate of his entire family at the hands of his father. At just 10 years old, the boy must face a future without his parents and brothers by his side. In a single night, his world changed completely, and those he loved were no longer there. His future may now be filled with questions that will never have answers. This is an enormous burden placed on the young boy's shoulders, as he has a long life ahead of him. The boy is currently being cared for by family members, and the entire community has come together to support him during this difficult time. Social workers also work closely with the family to ensure he receives all necessary psychological and emotional support. A fund has been established to help with his upbringing, education, and future needs. The tremendous and genuine support from the community is a great source of comfort, proving that the boy and his loved ones are not alone during this painful time. Jonathan's family issued a statement on local television expressing their deep sorrow and confusion. Michael Bear, one of the Candy family's neighbors, shared that he found it hard to believe that the friendly neighbors were gone and that he would always remember them. Another neighbor, Bree Graham, mentioned Jonathan as someone who was always helpful and supportive to everyone in the neighborhood, further affirming the irreplaceable loss. TJ Armstrong, Ian's baseball coach, shared that he chooses to remember Jonathan Candy as a wonderful man he once knew, someone who was always grateful for life and embraced everyone around him. Rhonda Armstrong, TJ's wife, who had known the Candy family for over 3 years, stated that whenever she visited their home or when they came over, the laughter never ceased. The Candy family could soothe any sadness and help her forget difficulties just by their cheerful presence. Rhonda also recounted that Lindsay was always present at Ian's baseball games, cheering with excitement, clearly demonstrating the love and pride of a mother. Those who knew the Candy family affirmed that they were a kind, sweet, and happy family. This makes the heartbreaking incident even more difficult to believe. Investigators are working hard to uncover clues to understand what might have prompted Jonathan's horrific actions. They are carefully examining his interactions with friends and family to determine if there are any signs of mental health issues. However, with no clear indications before the incident, finding the motive behind his actions has become particularly challenging and frustrating. Authorities view this tragedy as a wake-up call to raise awareness about the importance of seeking help when facing mental health issues. They emphasize the need to break down the stigma surrounding mental health support, as Jonathan Candy's case shows that even those who appear happy and stable on the outside may be grappling with deep internal struggles. This serves as a reminder that we all have our difficulties and need empathy and connection with family and friends to prevent the buildup of negative emotions. The authorities have also provided support groups and counseling services for those struggling to process their emotions or coping with loss similar to that of the Candy family. This nightmare is not only for those directly involved, but also for the community. A tragedy that makes everyone wish it were just a bad dream, hoping that when they wake up, it never happened. The Candy family was loved by many, and their departure has left a significant void in the hearts of all. As friends and family mourn the loss of Jonathan, Lindsay, and their children, they also recognize that prioritizing support and love for the only surviving son is essential during this difficult time.